welcome back to my channel. I am Celestial Tree. I'm an astrologer, intuitive reader, and soul psychologist as well. And today we are going to be talking about the final Mercury retrograde of 2024. I was going to say 2023 then. And yes, Mercury is of course going retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius from November 25th all the way until December 15th. So before I get started, it's time for the gentle reminder. If you'd like a reading from me, you can book with me at my website at celestialhealingrealm.com. And remember to subscribe to my channel for more spiritual tips and astrology updates. So you guys have probably heard about Mercury retrograde before, but for those of you who don't know what it is, essentially Mercury, which is the planet of communication, travel, and technology, appears to go backwards because of the way that it orbits the sun. It's not actually going backwards, but it's usually quite a fast planet. So when it slows down, sometimes the energy that's reflected here on Earth includes things like delays and miscommunications, things breaking down, things slowing down, all of that great stuff. Mercury usually goes retrograde a few times a year. This year has been retrograding in the fire signs, with the exception of Mercury going retrograde in Virgo in August, but it actually retrograded back into Leo. So is it really an exception? Now the final retrograde of the year will be in the sign of the Sagittarius. So what does that mean? Sagittarius energy is all about philosophy, playfulness, beliefs, foreign lands, foreign cultures, and what Mercury retrograde is a really good time for is reflecting, reviewing, reassessing, and reevaluating. So between November 25th and December 15th, take the time to really reassess where you're at now, reflect on your year. Have you guys' beliefs changed over the course of this year? Where have you guys traveled this year? Sagittarius is also all about higher learning. What have you learned this year? What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about the world around you? It's not all going to be good. It's not all going to be bad. But learning is learning. Think about some of those questions that I just mentioned, and think about how you're integrating that newfound knowledge and wisdom as a result of your own experiences. How are you integrating that into your core being? One of the archetypes for Sagittarius is the hero. Not so much in the same way as Leo. I feel like Leo is the noble hero, whereas Sagittarius is more so the hero that goes on adventures, the classic hero's journey, who kind of learns more about themselves through the people they meet and the places that they go. So during Mercury retrograde, I want you guys to give yourself permission to take those side quests. Take that detour on the way to work. Return to that book that you were reading. Step into the energy of reflection, of rest, introspection. These are going to be ways that you can really utilize and benefit from this energy of the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. On a more collective note, more generally speaking, there could be a global kind of review on the year that we've just had during this retrograde period. You might hear a lot of people discussing how their beliefs have changed as a result of some of the craziness that's happened over the last 11 months. Sagittarius is not a sign that holds back. If you're a Sagittarius, you know that to be true. Some people do refer to Sagittarius energy being quite chaotic. But what that means is that people are generally not going to hold back on their views. They're not going to hold back on their ideas and their opinions. So even if those thoughts and feelings and opinions and ideas are controversial, people are going to kind of say it and stand by it, just like a Sagittarius would. So just be aware of that during this retrograde cycles. So now I'm going to tell you guys what this Mercury retrograde period in Sagittarius means for each sign. And please remember to listen to both your sun sign and your rising sign as well. Aries suns and Aries risings, I hope we're doing well. Mercury will be retrograding through your 9th house space. So this is the area of your chart that rules over overseas travel, higher learning, and your belief system as well, your own personal philosophy. So there could be, in terms of traveling, there could be some travel delays. If you are traveling overseas, you know what, not even overseas, if you're traveling in general, please do leave plenty of time for your journey. Obviously, I know you're going to try and plan the best that you can, but there are some issues that you just can't account for all the time. So it's always best to kind of leave extra time. If you're studying, if you're entering into some type of learning cycle, this would be, or if you have the calling to study something or to learn something or to look into something, this is a really good time to go back and learn something that you might have been interested in before, but you didn't really have the energy or the time to really commit. So revisiting whatever that might be will be really, really beneficial for you during this Mercury retrograde cycle. I want to say, in terms of your beliefs, if you do feel yourself entering into a space where you're questioning some of your like deeply held beliefs, or something happens and you're like, I don't really know how to feel about that, or I don't really know where I stand with what's happened, follow that energy. I would say look into things, research things, and take some time to kind of reestablish your own personal belief system. And I feel like so much has happened this year that it's really normal to kind of question things as a result of some of the stuff that's happened. So be kind to yourself during this time, and after December 15th and beyond, things should feel a lot clearer and a lot more manageable, mentally speaking. Taurians, Taurus suns and Taurus risings. Mercury will retrograde through your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, and psychological transformation, which I know is pretty heavy, but I'll walk you through it. You might be feeling between November 25th and December 15th like you're a little bit emotionally vulnerable. You might be feeling a little bit distant, and you might feel like, I need some space away from people and away from the chaos of life. I know, Taurians, you like your space anyway, but it might feel even more apparent during this Mercury retrograde cycle. I really want to encourage you to take that space that you need and try and kind of recollect yourself. Be patient, give yourself some extra kindness and some extra grace over the next few weeks. Things might feel kind of heavy and a little bit overwhelming, and you might even, there's a chance that you might even run into like a spot of like pessimism. And I want to remind you that this is temporary, even though it feels heavy and you're like, how am I gonna navigate this? Am I gonna feel like this forever? I know the feeling, but you should be feeling a lot lighter after December 15th. What I will say is that it's not the best time to try and start new ventures or new projects, especially projects with others. But do revisit old projects and try and tie up some loose ends as best you can. In terms of finances, it's not a great time to deal with like banks and loans and stuff like that, especially if you're taking so much needed time away from stuff. So try to reconnect with the things that you enjoy, do the things that improve your mental health, and try to focus on the things that will inject a sense of optimism into your life, and do things that will improve your mental health, because that's going to be really beneficial during this Mercury retrograde. Gemini suns and my fellow Gemini risings. Gemini family, let's talk for a second. So, Mercury is going to be retrograde through our seventh house of relationships and marriage and contracts, which I know the last thing we need right now. If you're in a relationship, or you're married, there could be some old relationship issues that resurface during this retrograde cycle. Last thing we need, I know. There could be some misunderstandings. Mercury rules over communication. So sometimes when it's retrograded, well, when it's retrograding, we are reminded just how much weight our words can hold, especially when it comes to those that we love. So just be mindful of that during this time. Go easy. If you're single and you're actively dating, it might feel extra hard dating at this point, during this time. It might be hard to find somebody new. It might be hard to find someone who's willing to like commit. And the seventh house also rules over open enemies. So let me tell you this now. If you have any haters, the haters will be out in full force during this retrograde cycle. So I wanted to bring your attention to that. What I would say is that if you do have a partner, try and do things that reconnect you both to each other, reconnect you to each other in a way. So revisit some activities that you did in the past as a way to kind of rekindle and quell any misunderstandings. If you're single, try to reconnect with the things that you love and the things that mean something to you, and try to strive to create more balance where balance is needed. And you should feel a lot lighter and a lot freer after the retrograde is over. Cancerians, Cancer risings and Cancer suns. I said that like flipped. Cancer suns and Cancer risings. Mercury will be retrograde through your sixth house of physical health and work and daily routines. So there's a strong chance that you might be in or you might hear about some work drama with your colleagues. There could be some misunderstandings, there could be some miscommunications with the people that you work with. Not just on an interpersonal level, but work-wise, you could end up like missing deadlines and falling behind with documentation and emails and things like that. Don't panic. I know I said all of that, but don't panic. It is only temporary, even though I know at the time it might feel really frustrating. I would encourage you to slow down and really be gentle with yourself and prioritize stress management, because the sixth house is also your health. So sometimes with Mercury retrograde, we can see the return of small health issues. And if that does happen, I would encourage you to revisit a sort of healing method or health solution that worked for you in the past. I would also say that there's a chance that work might actually end up being really like too much. Sometimes that can happen with Mercury retrograde. So if you do leave your job, or if you change your job environment, for example, by like working from home more, take some time for yourself as best you can, and slowly like try and take it slow when it comes to reintegrating yourself back into a work environment, and going back into the world and building a new routine. Sometimes, especially during Mercury retrograde, the universe gives us a chance to slow down and reorient ourselves so that we are heading in the right direction. So lean into that energy as best you can. Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings. Mercury will be retrograding through your fifth house space. So this is the house that rules over things like romance and dating and pleasure and hobbies and creativity, and also children as well. So a few things could happen here. There is a chance that dating wise, romance wise, there might be some misunderstandings with your romantic interests. There could be some miscommunications with them that kind of result in people feeling a little bit sour. I think it's a really good time to try and remind yourself that this is like temporary, and things might come up in your dating life that indicate that maybe the people that you're dealing with in that way are not right for you. I'm just saying, don't shoot the messenger. I feel like Mercury retrograde is also a really good time to reevaluate your dating habits as well, so that you can be more like intentional when it comes to that sort of thing. There is a chance that you could reconnect with an old flame. How do we feel about that? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, someone from the past, potentially, likely. Creatively speaking, though, you could feel a little bit blocked up when it comes to those creative juices and your hobbies and stuff. And it might be difficult to find time to engage in like creative matters, or it might be difficult to find the time to engage in your hobbies and the things that bring you pleasure. So just be on the lookout for that. If you do enter into that space, I would say kind of lean into that energy as best you can. It's temporary, so you'll be okay after December 15th. You'll start feeling a little bit more ready to engage with those things, or you might have more time to engage with them. If you do have children, I want you to not be caught off guard if your children seem a little bit more rebellious than usual. Try not to read too much into that during this retrograde cycle. It's not going to last forever. So just be mindful of that. Virgos, there is police. There's police outside my window right now. So Virgo suns and Virgo risings, ignore the police. Mercury will be retrograde through your 4th house of home, family and the past, during the end of November and the beginning of December. So this could mean a few things. On the home front, it's likely that there might be some issues with your residence or your property. It could be something that you missed, that kind of comes back up to like haunt you in a way, or it could be like an entirely new issue that you're like, this wasn't even here before. This crack in the wall wasn't even here before, so what's going on? So that you're like, how could this happen? That's likely during this Mercury retrograde and cycle. I told you Sagittarius energy is a little bit chaotic, so just bear that in mind. In terms of family, there could be some miscommunications, there could be some disagreements with family members, and because Sagittarius is sort of this freedom-loving energy, it could be, these disagreements could be as a result of you trying to find a new, or trying to exercise your freedom, and they might have some issues with that. So just be aware of that during this retrograde cycle. There could also be some issues from the past in your personal life that come back up during this Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. What I would say though, try to keep busy. I know you have no problem keeping busy, but in terms of your living space, if you can do things like redecorating, reorganizing, in some way, that would be a really good way of mediating some of this chaotic energy. Maybe don't DIY, because that could go either way, really. But reorganizing and remodeling your living space will be really, really beneficial to not just your living space, but to your mental well-being as well. Libra suns and Libra risings. Mercury will be retrograde in your 3rd house of communication and travel, and siblings and your local community. So what I would say first thing is watch out for delays if you're traveling somewhere locally, and also be careful of car troubles. If you have a car, just check it. Don't be alarmed, but just check the car. Just be careful is what I'm saying. If you're driving on the road and you haven't checked your car in a while, just be careful. If you're dealing with things like documentation, emails, meetings, I would watch for mistakes before you send those emails, send those documents. Miscommunications as well. I would encourage you to kind of double, triple check before you sign off on anything between the end of November and the beginning of December. The third house also rules siblings. So if you do have siblings and they're a little bit antsy or they're a little bit off with you, just remember that it is temporary, and it's probably not anything to do with you. They might just be going through their own sort of stuff at this current time. That being said, it might be really beneficial, because the third house rules over your local community. It might be really good to reconnect with your local community in some way, whether that's through like a collective project that you're doing or like a neighborhood gathering. That might be a really good way to work with the energy of Mercury retrograde, going through your third house, in that third house space. So yeah, take it slow over the next few weeks, especially if you're traveling, and remember to leave plenty of time for things like delays. Scorpios, Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings. Mercury will retrograde through your second house of income, finances, values, and self-worth. So we can expect a couple of things to potentially happen here. There is a chance that you might run into some financial troubles during this retrograde cycle, and that could be because of something that was overlooked, like maybe you when you were budgeting, like you missed something or something like that, and it comes back up during this retrograde cycle, for you to kind of like take note of it and address it and sort of correct it. That's very normal when Mercury is retrograding through that second house space. I think on a more internal level, it's likely that you might feel this really deep need to change your aesthetic or switch up your style in some way. I would personally wait until after December 15th to do that, because there is a chance that if you do that, if you change your style during the Mercury retrograde cycle, you might come to regret it after the cycle's done. So get your Pinterest out, vision board, browse online, but don't buy anything yet. Just wait till after December 15th when you're absolutely sure. The good news is that you can actually make money during Mercury retrograde if you need to. And I'm going to tell you how. So try and revisit some of the old money-making endeavors that you might have tried before. Even if they haven't worked before, they might work really well during this retrograde cycle. And if you have a talent that you have kind of let go of and it can be monetized, it would be really good to revisit that in a way. That's a really good way to mediate the energy of this retrograde cycle. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you end up doing. I'm kind of excited to see how it all works out for you. Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. This is your big review. I don't know why I'm pointing at you so aggressively. Oh my god, my chair is squeaking so much. Yeah, this is your big review. So Mercury will be retrograde in your first house of identity, ego, life path, and the physical body as well. So you might be doing a big kind of reassessment of your life path, your life purpose, and having some really strong, significant identity shifts. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a strong chance that you could also feel a little bit overwhelmed, and a little bit misunderstood, while you're kind of sifting through a lot of what I just said. There is a chance that like your loved ones or your nearest and dearest might misunderstand like where you're at right now. But just remember that is temporary, and things will start to look and feel a lot clearer after December 15th. And you might find that you might be able to articulate your internal processes a lot better after December 15th to your nearest and dearest. So they might be like, oh, okay, I see what you was dealing with. What I will say is try and look back and reflect on what's worked for you in the past in terms of your life direction. I know you want to be more forward looking, especially as we're coming to the end of this year. Try and reflect on what this year has been for you. Where did you find the most joy? Look at what didn't work and what you can learn from that. It's a really important time for you. I know I'm not usually this serious with you guys, but it's a really important time for you. So slow down, take the time to review, and the more you review, the more clarity will replace confusion. Also, because Mercury is retrograding through that first house space, your first house also rules over your physical body. Watch for going too fast, too hard. Try not to cut or bruise yourself. Or like, well, it's not Mars retrograde. That's common. But try not to like do too much in one go, because you could like hurt yourself in a way. So yeah, I believe in you. I feel like I know that you're gonna come out the other end of this retrograde cycle feeling a lot lighter and feeling a lot more free to pursue the things that you've been wanting to pursue. You've just got to shift the dead weight first and really like reorient yourself in the right direction. Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings. Mercury will be retrograde through your 12th house. This is the house that rules over what is hidden. It rules over the subconscious and the mental space, and it also rules over rest. Also endings. I know it's a lot. So there might be some things that you thought had come to an end. You thought you kind of laid them to rest. That come back up to your attention during this retrograde cycle, and you're kind of like, I thought this was done, like why is this coming back up? Well, it might be because it wasn't done and it needs your attention so that you can actually really put it to bed for good. There's also a chance that mentally speaking, you might have some things like resurface on a mental level, to do with like old wounds that interfere with your well-being in some way. Insomnia is very likely during this retrograde cycle. It's temporary, but finding it difficult to sleep or even having like nightmares and stuff like that is not uncommon when Mercury is retrograde in that 12th house space. So what I would say is give yourself enough time, give yourself enough grace to take things slow, while you're sort of working through some of the things that might come up for you. This is a fantastic time though to reconnect with your own personal spirituality and reconnect with something deeper, in order to kind of help you manage these things that I'm bringing to your attention. This is also a really good time to start therapy or do some journaling or do shadow work. I feel like that would be really, really beneficial to you. So please do take it easy and try and give yourself a lot of rest, and hopefully you'll feel a lot more rejuvenated after December 15th. Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. Mercury will be retrograde through your 11th house of friends, groups, and long-term goals for the future. So let me walk you through what to expect. There is a chance that you might have some miscommunications and misunderstandings with regards to your friends and with your friendship group. You might even feel like, I'm gonna be honest, you might even feel like temporarily stepping away from a friendship or a friendship group during this time. And I know you're not afraid to do that because you're like, I'm going to do me. Maybe you might need to do that for a while, and then after December 15th, have those conversations. If you feel like stepping away from a friendship or a friendship group, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. So when you're ready to have those conversations with people, if needs be, that's when you're going to do it, There's also a chance that, because the 11th house also rules over like long-term goals for the future, there's also a chance that you might be reviewing some of your long-term goals, because they might feel a little bit out of reach during this transit, and you're kind of like, how am I going to get there? How am I going to what is the steps that I need to take in order for me to achieve these goals practically and realistically? What I would say is definitely try and keep the hope. Just try to sit and actually do some step-by-step planning as best you can regarding your goals, and even reconnecting with and reigniting some old goals and some old dreams for the future that you had, because you might find that that old dream is a lot closer and a lot more realistic than you first thought. Pisceans, Pisces suns and Pisces risings. My fellow Pisces suns, Pisces gang, how are we? Mercury will be retrograding through our 10th house of career, which I know last thing that we need. The 10th house rules over career, reputation and status. So I'm going to walk you through what could happen. There might be some issues when it comes to planning ahead and actualizing some of your career goals. I think with this retrograde, you kind of just have to go with it and make sure that you're doing the best that you can, which I know you always do. Saturn has been in your sign, and I think in ways you guys have been trying to cultivate a deeper sense of discipline and maturity when it comes to yourself and your life path. So this retrograde might be an opportunity to take some time to reflect on those career goals and make sure that they're aligned with where you're at now. There's also a chance that you might have some miscommunications or misunderstandings with people in positions of authority. That's the nature of the 10th house. So bosses and parents, etc. The energy of Sagittarius is all about freedom. So there might be some clashes in terms of you trying to exercise your personal freedom. And those in a position of authority might not appreciate that so much. I was going to be really irresponsible and be like, just do you. But what I always say is take a step back and reassess where you are. Try not to read too much into any clashes with any people in a position of authority. It is just temporary. And review. When you get to December 15th, things should feel a lot more clearer and you should have a lot more clarity. And you should feel more free and ready to kind of tackle whatever it is you need to get to wherever it is you want to go, if that makes sense. So that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know in the comments how you guys plan on navigating this Mercury retrograde, the final Mercury retrograde of the year. Remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel. It is brand new and all the love that I've been getting is really, really appreciated. Also follow me on TikTok and Instagram. They're both linked in the description, if I can speak. They're both linked in the description below, and don't hesitate to send me a message or send me an email if you have any questions. So happy healing, everyone. Take care.